wish upon a star. Makes no difference who you are. Anyone you'd like to hear will come to you. Let the games begin with characters from Wreck-It Ralph. Starting with Wreck-It Ralph himself. Ralph is not a hero, but he wishes he were. He works as a bad guy in a video called Fix It Felix Jr., and his only job is to wreck things. Ralph is great at wrecking, but that doesn't mean he likes doing it. He's a sweet-natured guy who is just misunderstood. To make matters worse, no matter how hard he tries to do well, he always seems to get into trouble. This could have to do with his programming. He was created to be clumsy and have a short temper. When he sets out to prove that he can be a hero, he meets Vanellope von Schweetz and eventually proves that he's not such a bad guy after all. Later, he travels to the internet with Vanellope to make sure her Sugar Rush game gets fixed. Even though Ralph and Vanellope end up going their separate ways, Ralph was able to prove what a loyal and caring friend he is.
Did you know that?
Ralph has been working as the bad guy in Fix It Felix Jr. for 30 years, and his catchphrase is, "I'm gonna wreck it!"
Now you know.
This is Gene. Gene is the mayor of Niceland. He's pushy and stubborn, and he doesn't like bad guys. However, although Gene initially treats Ralph poorly, he ultimately learns to value him. After all, what are games without bad guys? Gene wears a cardigan over a white shirt and tie. He's short and stout and has a mustache. What, no handle? No spout? Here's Zombie. Zombie is an undead character who is a part of Ralph's support group, Bad Anon. His body is greenish, he's partially balding, and his sunken eyes are yellow. Although he doesn't speak in full sentences, he still communicates well enough to teach Ralph that labels don't matter and that the most important thing is to love yourself. Meet Vanellope von Schweetz. Vanellope is a little glitchy. That is, she's a glitch in the game Sugar Rush that never should have existed, but she's still the liveliest racer around. At least she would be if the other racers would let her participate. Vanellope has developed a sharp tongue and a prickly attitude to protect her from the way she's been treated, but she also has a big heart. She doesn't see Ralph as a bad guy, but rather as her own hero. With Ralph's help, Vanellope achieves her dream of racing and learns the truth. She isn't a glitch at all. She was meant to be the star of the game. When Sugar Rush eventually breaks down, Vanellope and Ralph travel to the internet to try to get the game fixed. Vanellope eventually finds her dream game Slaughter Race and says a heartfelt goodbye to Ralph, although they plan to visit each other.
Did you know that?
Vanellope has only 4 fingers on each hand, and her skirt is made of peanut butter cup wrappers.
Now you know.
There's King Candy. King Candy used to be Turbo, the star of a popular racing game called Turbo Time. When newer, more popular games came into the arcade, Turbo abandoned his game and tried to take over a new one. His actions resulted in both games being unplugged and leaving one game to live in another. Has come to be known in the arcade as Going Turbo. The video game characters assumed Turbo was gone, but in reality he remained dormant in Game Central Station for years, until a new racing game was plugged in. He then hijacked the game and took it over under the assumed name of King Candy. King Candy portrays himself as a benevolent ruler, but he actually takes pleasure from the chaos he causes. He's an intelligent schemer and a force to be reckoned with, because he's determined to keep his power through any means necessary. Here is Taffyta. A skilled Sugar Rush racer, Taffyta Mutton Fudge is second only to King Candy. She has a huge ego and a mean streak a mile long. Taffyta is the leader of the Sugar Rush racers. She and the other racers are incredibly unkind to Vanellope, but secretly, Taffyta is afraid of the glitchy racer. Not because she thinks Vanellope can beat her, but because she's afraid that Vanellope's glitch will cause the game to be unplugged. Taffyta is a small blonde girl who wears a strawberry on her head. There is Fix It Felix Jr. Fix-It Felix is the hero of the game Fix-It Felix Jr. and the ultimate good guy. He's charming, warm, and well-loved by all. Felix never goes anywhere without his trusty hammer. With it, there's nothing he can't fix. Unlike the other Nicelanders, Felix has never actually been mean to Ralph. He's just never stopped to consider what it might be like to be a bad guy, overlooked and rejected. Felix's world is turned on its ear when he follows Ralph into the rest of the video game world and learns just how harsh the world can actually be. For the first time in his life, Felix faces scorn and rejection, and he must learn to cope with not always being the guy everyone loves. Felix's adventure makes him a stronger, more well-rounded man. It also introduces him to the love of his life and future wife, Sergeant Calhoun. Together, Felix and Calhoun turn Niceland into a haven for homeless video game characters, even adopting the orphan Sugar Rush racers when that video game breaks down.
Did you know that?
In the original script for Wreck-It Ralph, Felix was the star of the movie and can speak Cubertese.
Now you know.
Meet Yes. The head algorithm of BuzzTube. Yes is an expert on everything that's trendy and of the moment. She's all about the now and can even change her hair and outfit at a moment's notice to keep up with ever-changing styles. But Yes's know-how is not limited to pop culture. She often gives Ralph and Vanellope straightforward advice as they navigate the world of the internet. Meet Shank. The leader of a gang in Slaughter Race, Shank and her group rule the game with the mission of stopping online players from reaching their goals. Although she's as tough as nails and initially wants to stop Vanellope, the two of them hit it off immediately and form a lasting bond. This is Sergeant Calhoun. Tamara Jean Calhoun, the non-playable protagonist in the first-person shooter game Hero's Duty, has a tough life. She was programmed with a tragic backstory involving losing her fiancé on her wedding day. To make matters worse, the cybugs in her game don't know they're video game characters and will consume anything they find. She's not just fighting for the sake of the game, she's fighting to keep the entire arcade safe. Sergeant Calhoun comes across as pretty tough, but she's not without a soft side. Felix eventually wins her over and convinces her to marry him. After they destroy all the cybugs, of course. She and Felix even end up adopting all the orphan Sugar Rush racers when that video game breaks down.
Did you know that?
Sergeant Calhoun's first name is not revealed until the end of Wreck-It Ralph. The role of Sergeant Calhoun was originally written as a man. It was later changed because director Richard Moore felt that a male action hero was too boring and common. But I'm sure there are lots of other female superheroes or warriors, like the Powerpuff Girls, Wonder Woman, Hawk Girl, Captain Marvel, you name them.
Now you know.
This is Surge Protector. Surge Protector is a straight-laced civil servant whose job it is to guard the entrances and exits of the various video games in the arcade. He's prejudiced against bad guys and checks them much more often than good guys. However, he's got a rebellious side. His hobby is painting graffiti on the walls of Game Central Station. And this is Mr. Litwack. Stan Litwack is the owner of Litwack's Family Fun Center and Arcade, where all the games live. Litwack's chief goal is to keep his customers happy. If a game malfunctions and can't be fixed, he'll unplug it. The video game characters live in a constant fear that Litwack will decide to unplug their games, but it's not his fault. He doesn't know there's another world inside his machines. And those are all the Wreck-It Ralph characters. Join me next time. Well, join me for one last chapter. And we'll learn about all of the animals in a special city, Zootopia.